This is Malcolm welcoming you to the 1930th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 14th of November 2013. And the readers this week are Elizabeth, Katherine, Audrey, with Dave on the controls. And the items we'll be reading come from our local newspaper, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser, and the Enfield Independent, and they're their copyright. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Ferdinand Bouillon, Harry Breur, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and is used with his kind permission. The local stories this week include campaigners lose High Court decision over ward closures, respects to our fallen heroes, full investigation demanded into M25 Accidents spate, and Christmas festivities will set the town hall alight. But before we go on to those, we've got a few notices. Here's just a reminder that the Enfield Over 50s Forum meets every Monday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at the Dugdale Centre. That's in Enfield Town. And they offer help, advice, and the services of a solicitor, income tax advice, and CAB. So if you want more information, call 020 8807 2076. So that's Enfield Over 50s Forum at the Dugdale Centre every Monday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And you can find out more on 020 8807 2076. And now a couple of messages from Enfield Vision. They're asking you to remember to go to the Park Avenue Disability Centre on Thursday the 21st of November at 10:30 a.m. until 12:30. That's 10:30 until 12:30. And Enfield Vision are holding their drop-in meeting, and it finishes at 12:30. And there's an early reminder from Enfield Vision about the Enfield Vision Christmas Party, which is on the 2nd of December at Park Avenue, and that's from 7 p.m. till 9 p.m., and that's the 2nd of December. And now here's an important message about Sylvia Chapman's dance. Sylvia Chapman is organising a dance at the Civic Centre on the 26th of November. That's from 7 p.m. until 10:30. The tickets are £14 and include drinks and a buffet meal. And for more information about the dance and tickets, you can ring Sylvia on 07535 624 915. That's 07535 624 915. And it's always such a good evening, so don't delay. All right. So now, finally, a reminder that if you're experiencing any problems receiving your Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. That's Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She's your listener's representative, and she'll be pleased to help you. And now Katherine will read the first item of local news.
The fight to save Chase Farm Hospital's accident and emergency and maternity units is over after a court rejected Enfield Borough Council's case for a judicial review. On Tuesday and Wednesday last week, the Council and the Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, CCG, presented their case for and against a review that would have determined whether the closures were unlawful. But after 2 days of evidence at the Royal Courts of Justice, it took less than 2 minutes for Lord Justice David Bean to dismiss the claims made by the Council that urgent care facilities should be in place by the time the hospital in the Ridgeway was downgraded. The battle had been ongoing for nearly a decade, but the court decision means the hospital will now close its maternity ward on Friday and its A&E on December the 9th. The CCG in September approved plans to close the units, with services due to be relocated to North Middlesex University Hospital in Edmonton and Barnet Hospital. But the council quickly announced its intentions to take legal action before the changes took place. Protesters against the closures at Chase Farm gathered outside the High Court on the first day of the hearing, during which the council's barrister, Andrew Arden, argued that promised improvements to general health services and building additional primary care centres will not have been met before the proposed closure of the unit in December. Mr. Arden said, There were certain promises made for improvements to primary care in what was the most under-resourced area of London, certainly North London, by way of primary care centres. It appears that this decision has been bypassed and pushed to one side. Mr. Arden cited the advice given by the Independent Reconfiguration Panel in 2008 and 2011 that primary care centres should be built to facilitate the shortfall of emergency care. However, the Council's arguments were rebuffed on the second day of the hearing when the CCG's barrister Neil Garnham claimed no such promises were made. He said, "In no document is there an unequivocal and unambiguous promise made that these changes would be made before the reconfiguration of services." Mr. Garnham also claimed that Enfield Council has no case which is remotely arguable against the downgrade of Chase Farm Hospital's A&E unit and maternity ward, and the possibility of these promises being made was fanciful. In his judgment, published yesterday, Lord Justice Bean said, "Enfield has fought a good fight to save the A&E department at Chase Farm from closure for several years, and I appreciate the Council genuinely believes that it would be in the interests of those they represent for the department to remain open. But, in legal terms, that fight has now reached the end of the road. I have come to the conclusion that the Council has no arguable case for judicial review. I refuse permission and dismiss the claim." Enfield Council leader, Councillor Doug Taylor, said the authority was bitterly disappointed that it had been unable to overturn this flawed and shameful decision.
Thank you, Katherine. Welcome to our group. Veterans, cadets, residents and councillors gathered to remember the fallen on Sunday. On a crisp and bright afternoon, more than 500 people took part in Enfield's Royal British Legion Parade to mark Remembrance Sunday. Scouts, Guides and RAF, Royal Navy and police cadets joined former military personnel and dignitaries to march to Enfield Town's War Memorial in Chase Green. Chase Side for a service which included a 2-minute silence as well as a wreath-laying ceremony. Parade organiser Brendan Farrell, chairman of the Legion's Enfield branch, said it was the best parade in years. There was a terrific turnout with more than 500 people taking part in the parade, and we gave out almost 1,000 orders of service at the memorial, he said. We had the police cadets, 2 lots of scouts and girl guides. It was very good. The youngsters looked so smart. The dignitaries and the Lord Lieutenant were so surprised. He couldn't believe how many had turned out. Mr. Farrell agreed that it might have been next year's centenary of the start of the Great War that had helped to boost numbers, as well as the favourable weather conditions. It's good for the veterans to see that this is for them, but it is also good for the youngsters too, he said. We really have to push it and teach people the history of England. This helps to bring the children up to date with what was happening at the time. This Saturday, members of the Association of the Jewish Ex-Servicemen and Women will hold a remembrance service at 11:15 at Southgate Synagogue in Old Farm Avenue, and a service will take place in the afternoon outside Enfield Civic Centre in Silver Street at 3 p.m. to commemorate Enfield's contribution to the World War II Arctic convoys.
The Transport Secretary has demanded a full investigation into several accidents that happened on the same stretch of the M25 in less than a week. 4 accidents occurred between Junction 24, that's Potters Bar, and Junction 25, Enfield A10, within 1 week. As a result, Enfield North MP Nick Dubois wrote a letter to Secretary of State for Transport Patrick McLaughlin last Monday in which he stated that an unusually high level of serious accidents happened on that stretch of the motorway. Mr Dubois also asked the Minister in Parliament on Thursday will he urgently investigate the causes of these accidents, which might include the road management measures during the road expansion works, and let me know what he finds as soon as possible. In response, Mr McLaughlin said, "My honourable friend has already written to me about this issue and brought my attention to those appalling accidents. I want a full investigation into whether the points he has raised had any bearing on these accidents." The first accident happened on Tuesday, October the 29th, when a 60-year-old man died after his lorry overturned and caught fire on the slip road at the Enfield junction at approximately 12:15 p.m. And 2 days later, another lorry crashed between junction 24 and 25 on the anti-clockwise carriageway in the early hours of the morning. No one was injured. On Friday, November the 1st, a lorry crashed through the central reservation from the same carriageway, resulting in 4 road workers being injured. 1 remains in a critical condition. The entire junction was closed both ways for several hours, with the motorway opening 12 hours after the incident at 8 p.m. A 48-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of causing serious injury by dangerous driving. The final incident occurred on Saturday, November the 2nd, but no injuries were reported. Mr. Dubois told the Enfield Independent, "I'm pleased the Secretary of State understands the urgency of this matter, which clearly has had some tragic consequences, as well as causing major traffic upheaval to Enfield residents and businesses. These terrible accidents could be a result of many possible factors, but I do think he has a responsibility to ensure the traffic management system in place during the road improvements are in fact safe, and if not, urgent changes must be made. No one wants to see more loss of lives, and Enfield does not need the traffic chaos that results from the N25 delays."
Enfield Town is set for a festive feast in the coming weeks with the annual light switch-on and a grand Christmas festival to mark the season of goodwill. Palace Gardens will have held a Christmas event on Saturday the 16th involving Santa and other family entertainment before the switch-on of Enfield Town's Christmas lights at 4:30 p.m. The weekend of November the 30th and December the 1st also offers an array of entertainment and music for all. On Saturday, November the 30th, street entertainment will include a robotic Santa on a tricycle, balloon artist Miss Ballooniverse, and children's entertainer Santa Banta, along with the comical singing nun musical Ruth, who will be roaming the streets on her drive-along piano. Enfield Town Centre Manager Mark Rudling is excited by the upcoming fun. He said, "It will be absolutely great. There's something for everybody. It will be a showing of community spirit in the town, and it's all free." On the first day of the festival, headline musical entertainment comes from Ziggy's Jazz Group, who will be performing on Fountain Island, with other music and attractions running from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. The second day of the festival will see more entertainment in Market Square, including local youth dance groups from midday, followed by a Christmas parade of light around Enfield Town, leaving the Civic Centre at 4 p.m. and arriving in Church Street an hour later. Whitewebb's Motor Museum and the Enfield Fast Signs Band will also be present on the Sunday. St Anne's Catholic High School Choir will be leading carol singing at 5:30 p.m. around the Christmas tree on Fountain Island, which will have its own lights switched on by the Mayor of Enfield to signal the start of Advent and the build-up to Christmas.
Several projects in the borough have been given money from the Enfield Residents Priority Fund, the EPRF. Christmas lights in Grange Wood, a children's play area in Highlands, and ice skating in Ponders End were among 10 projects to receive funding. The ERPF will be giving out in excess of £70,605 as part of the latest decisions. Enfield Borough Council's Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure, Youth and Localism, Councillor Bambos Sharalambos, said, "The fund continues to see residents working with their local councillors to bring about change in their wards, which bring benefit to the community. If you have a project you feel would benefit your local area, why not apply to the fund?" Other projects include developing a small pocket park in Elsinge Road, drumming workshops for people in Palmer's Green, and a foot care service for elderly people in the Chase ward.
The hard woman had to feed her grandchildren beans on toast after a till error meant she left a supermarket without her shopping, even though she had paid. Kathleen Brown, aged 61, of Folkestone Road, Edmonton, who suffers from arthritis in both legs, went shopping after her grandchildren, Paige, 6, and Archie, 3, had arrived for a surprise weekend visit. She had bought food and treats at Asda in Edmonton Green Shopping Centre and had paid £75 bill with her bank card when she said the till roll jammed and she was told that the payment had been declined. She said that the cashier then wrapped up the receipt and did not allow her to see it before asking her to try again. I had checked with my bank and my incapacity benefit had come in, so I knew I had enough money in my account, she told the advertiser. But the shop assistant refused to show me the receipt. When I tried to pay again, my card was declined, obviously. The worst thing was that she then accused me of putting the first receipt in my pocket, which I hadn't. She kept banging her hand on the receipt, saying my payment had been declined. I got worked up and just left without my shopping. Having confirmed with her bank that the payment had been made, Ms. Brown returned to the store the following day and received an apology. Asda said a system error had made it appear as if the first payment had not gone through. A spokesman said, "As soon as the store realised there had been an error, we rectified the issue." Colleagues completed shopping on her behalf and presented her with a bunch of flowers and a £10 gesture of goodwill. Miss Brown accepted Asda had tried to rectify the situation, but still felt aggrieved. The way I was spoken to was disgusting, she added.
Cyclists have been assured that Enfield's MiniHolland bid will deliver safer routes. Interested parties gathered on Tuesday to discuss two final tweaks to the bid, coinciding with a death on Cycle Superhighway 2 in East London that highlighted the issue of rider safety in London. The death of 62-year-old Brian Holt led Enfield Borough Council to become more determined to receive part of the Mayor of London's £100 million cycling prize pot, with the issue of segregated highways topping many cyclists' demands. Councillor Derek Levy said, "One of the major advantages with our proposed highway is that we have already factored in segregation. Enfield is not Mile End Road. We have the plans in place for segregation. Education is also extremely important. It's about teaching people how to be safe and not be scared of using a bike." If the bid is successful, the proposed Enfield Superhighway will span the whole borough from the N25 into Haringey along the A110. Local cycling experts believe they have a key role to play in ensuring safer cycling and increasing riders' confidence. David Skinner, co-founder of Edmonton Cycling Club, said everybody's a bit nervous the first time they get on a bike, whether it's fear of falling off or punctures. Going out with experienced people can really make a difference. We can cater for all riders and teach them how to be safe. Mr. Skinner also highlighted the problem of vandalism to bikes and how this can put off potential riders. He added, "This has been a problem in Holland as well. People have to know that their bike is going to be there when they come back." We need dramatic improvements to the culture of parking in Enfield. Special cycle hubs are being proposed, which will act as safe lock-ups for bikes along major cycling routes, though Mr. Skinner would like to see more places hold bikes in storage under supervision. Dock-to-bike sessions are also running presently, helping cyclists maintain their bikes to a safe standard. Education of motorists also has a vital role to play in creating safer cycling, with the accident on the CS2 involving a tipper truck. Another collision also happened last Tuesday between a cyclist and a coach in Holborn, which left a man with serious head injuries. Councillor Chris Bond, Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for the Environment, said, "We do a lot of training for our drivers, dust carts for example, and make sure they look out for cyclists. We'll be encouraging businesses to do the same. This is a two-way process." The meeting saw borough-wide representation and a variety of parties, including the police, Transport for London, teachers, cyclists and potential cyclists, all contribute to the discussion. Councillor Bond added, "I went in with trepidation, but I was really pleased it went better than I thought. People have taken to the grand-scale ideas that we're proposing. We're going to make a video montage of cycling in Enfield, including interviews with residents, to send off with our bid. We've also given out loads of badges for people to show their support.
Workers at a young business have cause for a double celebration after it was nominated for 2 different awards. Home Care Preferred in Station Road, Winchmore Hill, opened its doors just 2 years ago and could be set to win its first major accolades. The shop was nominated for Retailer of the Year in the Enfield Enterprise Business Awards, and manager of the home care store, Navanyita Dar, has also been put up for Manager of the Year in the London Care Awards. The 30-year-old, known as Nav, was delighted to have been nominated. She said, "In care work, you solve a problem and you see the results straight away. You can make someone feel at ease and more comfortable, or you can call the doctor or the physiotherapist immediately. It's very rewarding and gratifying. It's great being part of the Home Care Preferred team because in situations where other care agencies may give up on a particularly difficult client, we simply do not. It's a great feeling to be able to rely on your staff. I'm proud of everyone who works here." Managing Director Ken Waterhouse said, "My team and I are extremely pleased and proud to be finalists in these 2 important award ceremonies. We're delighted to be a finalist in the Enfield Enterprise Business Awards, as we're very much a community-based organisation. It's also fantastic that Nav has been recognised at a wider level for Care Manager of the Year. She really deserves recognition for her hard work and dedication. The award winners will be announced later this month."
A care worker who left a 99-year-old woman with a fractured leg for 5 days before she called an ambulance has been given a suspended prison sentence. Shyla Reddy, 61, of Arlington Road, Southgate, pleaded guilty on October the 22nd to breaches of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 after covering up a serious injury to one of her patients. Appearing at Wood Green Crown Court on November the 6th, the manager of the Woodbury Grove Residential Care Home in Wellington Road, Bush Hill Park, was given a 6-month suspended jail sentence. She was also ordered to pay £3,000 costs to Enfield Borough Council and a £120 victim surcharge. The court heard that Lydia Riddler was poorly lifted and possibly dropped at the care home on Wednesday, April the 6th, 2011. Her leg was badly broken as a result, and the court was told an ambulance was only called for Mrs. Riddler on Monday, April the 11th, after her daughter noticed the injury and insisted she was taken to hospital. She died 15 days later without recovering from her injuries. The court was told Mrs. Riddler's care records had also been tampered with to cover up the offence, and Reddy told staff what they were to say to police officers investigating the incident. The elderly woman's injuries were then reported, and Enfield Council and the police launched an inquiry which uncovered the truth about what had happened. Reddy pleaded guilty after accepting that she should have done more to find out how Mrs. Riddler was when she discovered a member of her staff may have caused the injury on April the 6th. But the prosecution did not accept her plea, and eventually Reddy accepted the true level of her involvement in the crime. Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Adult Services, Care and Health, Councillor Don McGowan, said, "We will not tolerate people who think it is appropriate to abuse the vulnerability of the sick and elderly, and we will do everything we can to prosecute and bring these individuals to justice." Councillor Chris Bond, Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Environment, said, "This crime showed a cowardly, evil and callous disregard for the safety of a vulnerable elderly person who must have been in excruciating pain as a result of the injury that she suffered. We expect employees of a care home to be trustworthy, reliable individuals who will treat their charges with dignity and consideration, not leave them abandoned and in agony for days without knowing when the urgent medical care they so badly needed would arrive."
Thank you, Katherine. Such a worry. Golfers are to be given the chance to tee off at a fundraiser this week in a bid to help get the unemployed back into work. Skills for Life, Making a Difference, a scheme which supports the unemployed through training and one-to-one mentoring, is hosting a charity golf tournament at Bush Hill Park Golf Club on Friday. Founder and director Vijay Sujan of Corby Crescent Oakwood witnessed firsthand the frustration of not being able to find work when he was made redundant aged 64. Although he was able to find another job 10 months later, Mr. Soujan wanted to use his personal experience to help others struggling to get work, so he launched the project in 2011. He said, "There are so many brilliant and smart kids in Enfield, and if we don't help these kids now, they'll become a lost generation, and that is a very sad thought." In July, the scheme raised £11,000 from a cricket match, which resulted in 2 young adults and a man in his 50s getting back into employment. One of those was 20-year-old Tinashe Mashashi, who found work in Carrington House Appliances in Bouncers Road, Edmonton, as a trainee engineer. Mr. Mahashi was looking for the part-time job when he studied at college, and it took Skills for Life just 1 week to find him work. He said, "Without Skills for Life, I would still be sitting at home playing on my Xbox with no job. I would seriously recommend any unemployed young person to get involved with this scheme. The project is self-funded mainly by Mr. Soujan, so events such as this Friday's golf tournament allow it to continue work within the community. The target is to have 72 players taking part in an 18-hole Stableford competition, and places are still available. Entry to the competition costs £75, which includes a round of golf and a free-course dinner. Buy tickets, or for more information, call Peter Jeffrey on 07759 879 556 or visit Skills for Life website at www.sfl-mad.org.
Residents are being urged to register to vote and update their details if necessary, so they can take part in next year's council and European elections. Voters go to the polls in the local elections and to elect MEPs on Thursday, May the 22nd. Enfield Council's Electoral Services team is updating the electoral register and is urging all those aged over 18 to respond as soon as possible to the registration forms that have been distributed to all households in the borough. People need to check the details on the register are correct and inform the council of any changes. Electoral canvassers will begin making personal visits to homes in the next few weeks if a response to the forms has not been received, a situation the council wants to avoid as much as possible. Peter Stanyan, Enfield's head of electoral services, said, "Almost half of households have responded, and we need the other half to do so as soon as possible. Only those who are on the register can vote, so we're saying to the public, respond as soon as possible. We don't want anyone to miss the chance to vote." If circumstances are unchanged, residents can respond online, by text or by phone. To find out more, visit www.enfield.gov.uk/get-involved or call the council's election hotline on 020 8379 8582.
We've now reached the end of side 1 of this tape, so please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over, and start side 2.